Some people just absolutely hate our assessment process. It always kind of makes me smile a little bit. You're doing a good job if somebody hates what you're doing, right? I'm just kidding. But no, we realized that our assessments are all yes, no questions. And a couple comments that came in here in the past month or so. One person said, hey, there's no way that those questions can be done any justice with a simple yes or no answer. And then we had another person that essentially said the same thing, only they said a little bit nicer. They said, I love what you're doing, but I hate being labeled as something based on an answer to a very broad question. So Matt, speaking to a little bit, so our assessments that we take, and we kind of smile, if you think as a candidate you hate taking it, the churches hate taking it even worse because we ask them the same questions at times. But these were very intentionally done by us. Tell us a little bit of the reasoning between why we ask yes, no questions, and then I'll tackle the question about, does it hurt me if I don't answer right?
Okay, so here's yes, no questions. We realize that there's a lot more nuance to theology than a simple yes, no question can deal with. I get that. But what we have found is that if we do something like, give us 1 to 5, what do you believe on this? Everybody will put 3. Because 3 is a nice, safe number that nobody can say you're wrong with. And if we get a bunch of 3s, that doesn't help us in the process. What we have found, though, is that each of us have an initial pull towards one type of thing. So if we talk, say, Arminian or Reformed theology, I don't know a whole awful lot of people that are both, or at least do both well if they're intellectually honest with themselves. I think if we put a gun to somebody's head, they're going to come down one way or the other. And so what we have found is if there is a deeply Reformed church and you have somebody that's slightly Arminian in theology, that's not going to be a good long-term fit. Now, that's not to say that instantly disqualifies everybody or every church from being a fit. We realize that there's nuance to this. Yes. And so part of the second phase of our process is to go through and do interviews with people to kind of develop some of the color around how they believe and what they feel. Pull out some of that nuance and get a sense. The process isn't perfect. I understand that. It was created by 2 deeply flawed individuals. But what we've found is that it does a very good job of at least initially screening out people that there's just no chance they're going to be a good fit for a church's cultural or theological or job fit requirements for a certain position. So.
Yeah, and the other thing I would add to that is, of course, in these 100 questions that you're going to fill out, all right, in these assessments, there are negotiables and there are non-negotiables, right? And some of those are very non-negotiables. Like when we ask a question such as, do you believe in the virgin birth? That's a yes or a no question. If you answer that question differently than the church, that probably is going to be a non-negotiable for both you and for the church, right? We're getting this even on some of the cultural and DNA questions that we ask. When we ask about LGBT issues, this is a really kind of a good example of kind of a cultural issue that we try and determine up front, right? So we have some candidates particularly younger candidates, that will answer the question on the LGBT issue that they are totally open and affirming, and they want to be a part of an affirming LGBT church, right? There are other churches that want that, and there are churches that absolutely do not. So while it can be a little nuanced, and if there's a mismatch there, it's something that when we do a pre-interview with you, we will ask you and dig into that. But the assessments really are not the definitive, I am totally this way or I am totally this way. It's a way for us to really kind of drill down and ask the right questions. So if you answer a question with a yes or a no and you're kind of a maybe on it, that will not disqualify you for any of the positions. It will be a clarifying question for us. Does that help, Matt?
Yeah, and just to speak to the 4-point Likert response, we had thought about that initially, but that 3 and that, or 2 and 3, those middle sections is where most people end up putting their answers. And so it does the same thing. What we found is that the yes/no helps put some real clarity on things and then allows us to have conversations to kind of go from there. Like I said, it's not a perfect art or a perfect science. We kind of blend art and science into it.
Yeah, we had one specific example that came in a couple months ago. I had one of the candidates that had just filled out the assessment, the culture and DNA assessment, and said, I didn't know how to answer the question with a yes or no when you asked, I'm more of a jeans on a Sunday morning kind of a guy than a suit on a Sunday morning kind of guy. And to me, I thought, well, this is a yes or no, we're asking which you prefer. And he's like, well, His answer was, I didn't know how to answer yes or no because I wear jeans, but I could wear a suit. It's not a problem. Well, that for us is exactly what we're trying to do in these assessments, is that you do have a preference, right? So if you're wearing jeans on Sunday morning and then all of a sudden we've cast you in a church that is much more formal than what you're used to or what you prefer, that can be an area. It's not a disqualifier by any means, but still it tells us a little bit about the church and about you and whether or not you're going to be a good fit overall long term. It's not a disqualifier, but it helps us. Hey, Todd Rhodes here from chemistrystaffing.com. Thanks so much for listening to this short Q&A with myself and Chemistry Staffing's Matt Steen. Hey, we want to help you however we can during your church job search. So a couple of different things that I wanted to offer you today. First of all, if you'd like to set up your free church staff profile, it's totally confidential. You can upload your resume and kind of put yourself on our radar for any new church jobs and churches that we're working with trying to fill. Either currently or in the future. You can do that. It's really easy, totally free, and again, totally confidential. You can do that at chemistrystaffing.com/profile. And if you have any questions about your search or you just want to contact Matt or myself, you can actually email me at todd.rhodes, that's RHOADES, todd.rhodes@chemistrystaffing.com. We'd be happy to help you during your search however we can and look forward to serving you.